Hello guys, welcome you all. In the previous video, we have seen that the magic of chemistry helps us to create new substances. But to create these new substances, we should understand what is chemistry. So today in this topic, we will understand what is chemistry. Guys, if you want to become a master of chemistry, if you want each and every concept of chemistry on your fingertips, stay tuned with me and watch each and every video till the end. Guys, remember that only the degree doesn't make you a master. It's the knowledge and the way you use that knowledge makes you the master. So let's start our topic. What is chemistry? Chemistry is a science. Chemistry is a science in which we understand each and every substance in detail so that we can use these substances to create new substances. So, in chemistry, we study the composition, physical and chemical properties of a substance so that we can use substances to create a new substance. Composition means we understand, हम समझते हैं कि जो एक substance है वो किस चीज़ से बना हुआ है. Physical properties means हम समझते हैं कि एक जो substance है उसका color क्या है, उसका melting point क्या है, उसका boiling point क्या है. Chemical properties means we understand that how that substance reacts with other substances. Simple example, NaOH. It reacts with HCl to give you NaCl, वही नमक, plus water, right? When NaOH reacts with HCl, it gives us NaCl and H2O. So this is the chemical property of NaOH. कि NaOH HCl के साथ react करता है और हमें ये देता है, right? So this is what we understand in chemical properties कि आपका जो substance है वो किस substance के साथ react करता है और किस substance के साथ react नहीं करता. So now, as we have seen what is chemistry, let's start first topic of chemistry, which is matter and its classification. So what is matter? Matter is anything around us that has mass and it occupies some space. कोई भी ऐसी चीज जिसमें कोई भार है and it is occupying some space, that is called as matter. Simple example, this marker, these markers, my shirt, मैं खुद, all these things have mass बहुत ज़्यादा and they are occupying some space बहुत ज़्यादा. So all these substances, they are occupying space and they have some mass, so these are matter. So a simple question for you, is air around us a matter? Please answer the question in the comments given below. So now let's see how we can classify matter. Matter can be classified on two different bases. Matter को हम दो तरीके से classify कर सकते हैं. First, we can classify matter on the basis of its composition, कि वो बना किससे हुआ है. And second, we can classify matter on the basis of the physical states. So, on the basis of physical state, matter can be classified into solid, liquid, and gas. So now, let's see what is the difference between solids, liquids, and gases. So, we can classify matter on the basis of physical states into three different types: solid, liquid, and gas. We'll see the difference between these three different states of matter. First is the particles. In solids, the particles, they are very close to each other. The particles are tightly packed, due to which they are at their fixed position, and it gives the solid a specific shape, a definite shape. So in this, the particles are very close. They are tightly packed, as well as they are fixed at their position, due to which it has a definite shape. Next, in the case of liquid, the particles, they slide over one another. They slide over one another. But still there is some space between the particles. There is still some space. Whereas in gases, the particles are far away from each other. The particles are far away from each other. So according to this, we can write the next point. Interparticle space. So according to the above discussion, we can say that the interparticle space in solid is negligible. Or we can say there is no space between the particles. The particles stick to each other. Right? Whereas in the case of gas, the particles are at maximum distance from each other. And in the case of liquid, they are at intermediate distance from each other. Next, now why does this happen? ये होता क्यों है? This is because the next point, which is interparticle force. So, the particles are very close. Kyun? Because the force between the particle is very strong. As the force between the particles is strong, they stick to each other. Next, whereas in the case of gases, the force between the particles is very less, due to which they are far away from each other. So in this case, the force between the particles is very weak. And in this, intermediate. Okay, let's see the next properties. So, because of these three properties, that solids, they are tightly packed, gases, they are very far away from each other, we can understand the third property, which is motion. In solids, the particles are very tightly packed. So, क्या लगता है? Will they move? क्या उनमें कोई motion होगा? कुछ नहीं होगा. That's why the particles, they just vibrate at their own position. They just vibrate at their own position. Whereas liquids, the particles are little, they have some space, they can move, they can slide over one another. That's why they are free to move. They have freedom of motion. So that's why in liquids, the particles, they show all the three types of motion, such as vibrational motion, rotational motion, as well as translational motion. And I think you will study all these three motions in physics as well. Now, gases, they are free to move. They also have freedom to move. That's why all these gases will show same type of motions: vibrational motions, rotational motion, and translational motion. That means in particles, in gases as well, the particles will show all these three types of motion. Because of this, as in liquids, the particles, they are free to move, they flow. As the particles are free to move, they flow. And that's why liquids are called as fluids. Liquids are called as fluids. Similarly, gases as well, the particles are free to move, so they also flow. But do we call gases as fluids? No. The term fluid is only used for liquids. Okay, next property, they have motion, due to which, according to motion, we can say that in solids, the particles, as they are fixed, they have a definite shape. Right? They are fixed, the particles just vibrate at their own positions, that's why they have a definite shape. Whereas in liquids, they don't have a definite shape. They are easy to flow. So you have a glass of water. If you pour that glass of water into a jug, that water takes the shape of a jug, right? So in this case, the shape is not definite because of fluidity. Same in the case of gases as well. The shape is not definite. They flow from one place to another place. That's why they take the shape of the container, and that's why the shape is not definite. So we can say the next property as shape. Next, with this shape comes the volume. So let's take the next property as volume. Now, in the case of solid, the volume is definite. If you have 1 liter, we do not use liters for solids, right? So suppose you have 1 centimeter cube of a solid. Okay, 1 centimeter cube मतलब आप एक ऐसा क्यूब ले लो जिसकी साइड्स, सारी के सारी साइड्स होंगी 1 centimeter. That will become 1 centimeter cube. If you take a cube of sides 1 centimeter, that volume will be 1 centimeter cube. Now, if you take a solid of 1 centimeter cube, चाहे आप उसको कहीं भी रखें, the volume will never change. It will still remain 1 centimeter cube. Similarly, in the case of liquids, if you have 200 ml of water in glass and you transfer this water in a jug, still the volume in the jug will also remain 200 ml. It will not change to 1000 ml. It will still remain 200 ml, right? So the volumes of liquids are also definite. Neither the volume of solid is changing when we are placing from one place to another place, nor the volume of liquid is changing if we are changing the place of liquid, right? So that's why for both of these, the volume of solids and liquids are definite. Whereas the volume of gases is not definite. Now, what do you understand from this? What do you understand from this? इसका मतलब ये है, suppose let me take an example. Let me take a container of 1 liter containing some gas. Let me take a container of 1 liter which has some gas. So, इस container में gas है and the volume of that gas will be 1 liter. Right? Now, what I am doing is, मैं इस गैस को एक ऐसे कंटेनर में ट्रांसफर कर रहा हूँ जिसकी वॉल्यूम है 5 लीटर्स. इस गैस को मैं एक ऐसे कंटेनर में ट्रांसफर कर रहा हूँ जिसकी वॉल्यूम है 5 लीटर्स. So, now, in this container, the volume of gas was 1 liter, but in this container, the volume of gas will be 5 liters. The reason is, the particles of gas, they occupy whatever space they get. So they will occupy the whole container and the volume of gas will be 5 liters. So that's why यहाँ पे same amount of gas है but उसकी volume है 1 liter, और यहाँ पे भी same amount of gas है but उसकी volume है 5 liters. So that's why the volume of gas is not definite, it's indefinite. Now let's see next properties. So let's see the last property on which solids, liquids and gases can be differentiated, which is compressibility. Compressibility. Okay, so आसान सी बात है, in solids the particles are very close to each other. They are in touch with each other. There is no space between the particles. So अगर हम solids के ऊपर pressure लगाएं, if we compress the solids, क्या particles और close आएंगे? सोचने की बात है. As the particles are in touch, there is no space between the particles will not come more closer. That's why solids are not compressible. Not compressible. Next, let us talk about liquids. Now, in liquids as well, the particles are in touch with each other, but there is still some space between the particles, right? So, if we compress liquids, yes, they will be compressible. The particles can come little bit closer to each other, but as the space is very less, the compressibility is negligible. The liquids are compressible, but they are negligibly compressible. Negligibly compressible. Last is gases. Now, बहुत आसान सी बात है. Gases के जो particles होते हैं, they are very far away from each other. So, if we pressurize the particles, if we pressurize the gas, the particles can come closer to each other. And as there is a lot of space between the particles, they can be highly compressed. So, the gases, they are highly compressed. The simplest example is LPG. That is LPG gas which we use in our kitchens, which is called as liquefied petroleum gas. Actually, our cylinders which we use in kitchens, they consist of a gas, but उस गैस के ऊपर इतना प्रेशर डाला होता है that the particles they come too much close to each other. Particles इतना close आ जाते हैं एक दूसरे के that the gas gets converted into a liquid state, and that's why it is called as liquefied petroleum gas. So it is a gas, but उसके ऊपर इतना ज़्यादा प्रेशर लगाया होता है कि जो particles they are very close to each other and they get converted into a liquid state. And this is the example of highly compressibility of a gas. Okay, so with this we finish our first topic of chemistry, which is the classification of matter on the basis of the physical states. So with this we have finished the first topic of chemistry. So now it's the question time based on this topic. Yeah, so this is a sponge with me and it is a solid, right? It's a solid, the shape is definite, the volume is definite, right? So this is a solid, but when I'm applying pressure on it, yes, it is getting compressed. How? I don't know, that you have to tell me. So answer in the comments below and tell me why this is compressible. Being a solid, why this is compressible. So फिर मिलते हैं in the next topic. So आज के लिए bye bye.